Yeah, hi, Geoff Richardson, 2025. I played my football 50 odd years ago, rugby union, rugby league, and enjoyed all that. And today we're going to have a look at all my footy jumpers that I saved from those days. Club jumpers, state jumpers, international jumpers. So join us for Richo'S story.
To get it back, on it comes to Oliver. Richardson's out there now. A long pass into Heading. Heading flies to the corner. Here's another try coming up for West. And Heading's over for the fourth try. And West race away, 26-9.
Yeah, my football started probably at Taree, where I grew up. Taree West Primary School, playing league. We played Blue Hornets in the local competition. I haven't got a Taree West Primary School one, but there's a photo that shows me in my class photo with a rugby league jumper on. At Taree High School, I played in weight divisions and then played in the first 13 for a couple of seasons. The Taree High School jumper, black and gold stripes, I was invited back as a guest after I'd played for Australia, and I donated my high school jumper to the high school to put in their sports archives. My parents were involved with Taree Bar Football Club, and you'll know that one. Latrell Mitchell played there, Boyd Cordner played there, Danny Baderas played there, and Richo played there in the early days. Started as a mascot and a ball boy. You know, and then I was 15 and 16 and they were short in the under-18s. I played, graduated from school and went to Teachers College in Newcastle, 1966 that was, and the boys were getting together rugby union. I'd seen a couple of games with Randwick on the ABC but didn't know much about it. I was going to travel back to Taree and play rugby league for Taree Bar. Not sure about white and brown and green, but that's Richo'S rugby jumper in Newcastle. And we played in the local competition. And we only played in the second grade competition because we were 17, 18 years of age. Much the same skills, much the same game. And I suppose my passing had to improve both sides, and I had to learn to kick the football with my left foot when I was 17. I now try and get kids and my grandson and so on to do it now when they're young. But in 1967, I got selected into a Newcastle squad out of reserve grade. They wouldn't let me play in the Newcastle under-18 team because I was registered as a senior player. But I represented Newcastle at Country Week as a reserve, then got posted to Crookwell and Gunning down near Goulburn and played rugby at Goulburn. Goulburn were then playing in the ACT competition. And for Queenslanders, if you want to get cold, go down to Goulburn and Crookwell. This is the Goulburn Rugby Club jumper in Goulburn. Simon Poidevin, I suppose, is the most famous name out of there, but I started my rugby down at Goulburn. I represented ACT at Country Week. The Brumbies wasn't involved then, it was just the ACT. It was the old, not the Brumbies jumper, that's the Australian Capital Territory, ACT rugby jumper we played in at Country Week. I played New South Wales Country. This is the country jumper, and you know, we played city country games, and also in 1969, Man on the Moon, you remember, Armstrong, July 69, Tamworth versus Fiji, New South Wales Country versus Fiji in Tamworth. Played New South Wales against Fiji in 1969. My New South Wales jumper we have here, it's in the Taree Sports Museum. And then at that time, 1969, 70, I had to register for National Service, and they selected me to go into National Service and wear the uniform. So I had 1970, I didn't play rugby outside, we played a bit of internal rugby, but 70, 71 I did the officer training course, National Service, got posted to Townsville, and I appeared up there in the end of 1970 and then 71, and I played for Townsville at Country Week and then got selected for Queensland Country, and this is a jumper that has been worn a bit by me, but also my son. This is his rugby jumper at school and afterwards. So that's the Cooktown Orchid, and that's Queensland Country. Played against City, got picked for Queensland. My first game for Queensland was against the British Lions in 1971. This is the Queensland jumper, as I said, played for Queensland. No sponsorship in those days, just a jumper and a badge, okay? And we played the Interstate Series. Now the other thing that happened that day, Susan Francis was my, she's now my wife, but then she was Miss Rugby, a promotion that Queensland Rugby put on. Her family were involved with South Rugby. Nev Francis, her father was one of the chairmen of Junior Rugby Union in Queensland at those days. Anyway, Susan brought the football on. She actually kicked it and we got it back again, and I was to kick it off, and I must have said something about meeting up later, and here we are married and still enjoying life. That year I went on and played for Queensland, played for Australia against the Springboks. And those that are old enough will remember the apartheid demonstrations. Spectators were trying to stop the game by jumping over the fence, and there was whistles going and noise and smoke bombs and everything.
Well won by Gregory to Richardson. Short kick through. Who's coming onto this one? A great chance here for the Australians. Bounce is important. It's through. There's a chance for them. Cole's coming through fast onto Amos. And it's going to be a scrum with loose head Australia.
Again here, no sponsorship. That was the Wallaby jumper that we played in that era. We played 3 tests against the Springboks. We came second, probably not by a big score, but we got beaten. They were quite a strong unit. I think I was the only player that year to play against them 5 times. I played 3 test matches. I played Queensland and I played Queensland country. Springbok jumper. These are match worn. There we go, Pete Fasaki wore this one, and we exchanged jerseys at the end of a test match. Now, with rugby union, apart from exchanging jumpers, after a test match, you have a test match dinner with the other players and from the other team. It's a great social connection, and I've still got some of those friends around the world now. But that was worn by Pete Fasaki from South Africa. This is my cap. Now, you might wonder why rugby people have caps. Now, this all started in England from their football, which we call soccer. The football over there used to get caps. And then the rugby people, I'm not sure whether it was at rugby school or wherever, they started getting caps. And now it's a bit of tradition. We didn't get these in Australia until about 2000, I think, or 2003, when the World Cup was here. Rugby had a bit more money then, and all the past Wallabies were donated, not donated, but presented with our caps. Queensland have also joined in the memorabilia, and we have our caps there. Obviously I don't wear them around to keep the sun off my head, but we keep them here, and my grandkids like dressing up in them. I was in national service, and the combined services play rugby. Army play Navy, Navy play Air Force. When you play the Air Force, they just fly people in on a training flight from all around the country. And then combined services, we had a tour. We played Sydney at Paddington, at Victoria Barracks, a beautiful parade ground, all couch grass, and it was a lovely setting. And we played Queensland. So in '71, I'd played for Queensland against New South Wales. We played against Victoria, New South Wales country. And this time, I was playing for combined services against the Queensland blokes I'd played with all the year. So that was quite interesting. Now, my Australian Services rugby jumper is a green one, and it's now located at South Rugby Club in Brisbane because, as I said, Sue's family, the Francis family, were mixed up with South Rugby. I noticed their collection of rugby jumpers, they did not have a combined services one. So my jumper's there on the wall, framed, and I donated that to them. What I do have is an army jumper, or shirt rather, a bit of army rugby. So Services Rugby, they still have a reunion every now and then and get together, and they're still playing games. And there is a cup, the Geoff Richardson Cup, which is played between combined services, Australian combined services, and New South Wales country. Yeah, then toured France with the Wallabies. And unfortunately, I got injured before the first test, and Russell Fairfax then took the 5'8" spot. Australia won the first test in Toulouse, and then I sat out also for the second test, and Russell played. Australia won the first test, as I said. I was granted the captaincy of the Australian team in the midweek game. We played at Bayonne, and I had the honour of captaining Australia. A story with this jumper, you'll see it's a number 6, and I didn't play breakaway, but Greg Davis was the captain for Australia. Greg had played for Australia right through the 60s, and this was 1971, played breakaway, probably finished up on the bottom of rucks and mauls more than most people. And I was rooming with him at this test match, and we were getting ready, and he said, "Richo, I've got plenty of these French jumpers. Would you like to have my French jumper, test jumper?" I said, "Oh yeah, I didn't get one. I didn't swap jumpers." So this is Greg Davis's jumper, which I treasure. Greg has passed away, unfortunately, but you know, was the captain of the Wallabies when I first played. Then came home and played in New York and Vancouver. British Columbia, and nowadays, you know, both America and Canada are playing top-level rugby. And this is British Columbia, you know, so rugby was travelling back in those days. 1972, I moved to Brisbane teaching and playing for Teachers, the old Teachers Rugby Club, which is now Norths. It was Teachers North. 72, 73. Poinsettia, these are everywhere. We were in Brisbane at the weekend and these flowers are everywhere. That was the Brisbane jumper. When I 72 and 73, I was playing for Teachers. So I played in the Brisbane jumper against country and then get picked for Queensland. And played there, played for Queensland, played for the Wallabies. In 1972, France came out here, and then later in the year we went to New Zealand and played a test series in New Zealand, plus, you know, about 10 or 11 regional games as well. I was fortunate over there that I played 2 of the test matches. Russell played the first test and I'd played provincial games pretty well, and I was playing inside centre and also 5'8", and I played the second test and third test, second test in Christchurch, third test in Auckland in the pouring rain. Yeah, the All Blacks, we came second in all those test matches, but the second test match in Christchurch, we scored quite a few points and played pretty well. Played a test match against Fiji on the way home. The first test match that was accredited test match status. 73, still playing for Teachers in Brisbane, playing for Queensland, interstate games, and in 73 Tonga visited here. And those that have got a good memory will remember the second test in Brisbane where Tonga scored more points than Australia. And yeah, that was a bit embarrassing, but that was rugby.
This could be a try. It's Taree. This could be a great try. Richardson won't get him. It's a try.
73, we're off to England, Wales and Italy at the end of the year. And this is the Welsh jumper. Phil Bennett, who only passed away, you know, in the last year or two, was 5'8" that day. Yeah, they scored many more points than us. Gareth Edwards is half-back, you know, so it was a great team and it was good to play at Cardiff Arms Park. And that's the jumper from that game, Phil Bennett's jumper, the Welsh jumper. After our defeat in Wales, a few of the players changed around and Richo was on the bench at Twickenham. On the way home, we were playing in Italy and Richo was a bench player again then, but this is a federation of Italian rugby game. They sometimes play in white when they play at home, sometimes they play in blue. So that's an Italian rugby jumper. But then I changed to rugby league, and having played rugby league until I was about 17 at Taree, I understood the game quite well. On my last Wallaby tour to France, the Queensland Education Department, I was teaching at Coorparoo High School, and they said, yes, Mr. Richardson, you can have 7 weeks leave to go and play for Australia, but no pay. So that's how amateur rugby was in those days. And having played for 3 years, Wallabies, tripped around the world many times, I thought I'll try my hand at rugby league. So I sort of negotiated myself. West, why did I go to West? Well, you know, 2 or 3 clubs in Brisbane were chasing me. I wanted to go and see how I'd go at rugby league after having played it earlier. And rugby at that stage was amateur. Yeah, so I went to West. And in 74, West didn't do too well. But after about 6 games, I think I played for Brisbane against country, then picked for Queensland, the interstate series. Warren Orr was also at West then, and he played for Australia with me in 74. And, you know, playing with Beetson and Langlands and Fulton and these guys, I probably, a bit younger, I used to watch them play and thought, yeah, we'll have a go. So that all went well against Great Britain. 75, went to New Zealand and played Auckland, and we played in this southeast Queensland one because Queensland weren't allowed to take a full state side over, so we took 9/10 of the state side over, or 14 of the, well, sorry, 12 of the 13 players were from Brisbane, and then 1 or 2 country blokes, and we played in that. We also played another curtain raiser game, not a curtain raiser game, but a lead-up game against New South Wales country, and we played southeast Queensland. And I think that might have been in 75. Yeah, this is 175. So they've used different coloured jumpers for different teams. Again, playing for Queensland, interstate series, 3 games in 10 days. And we won a game in 75.
Well, it comes to Oliver. Richardson's out there now. A long pass into Eddie. Eddie flies to the corner. Here's another try coming up for West. And Eddie's over for the 4th try. And West race away, 26-9.
We used the ball a bit, and I sort of moved it around the paddock, kicking it and and doing things, and we had some good ball players and people supporting the ball, you know. I often get disappointed where people don't think about what phase of the game is, you know. It's not my turn to run it up, so I'm just going to turn off and wait. You know, you've got to be involved.
West ball again to Richardson, their second scrum today. Oliphant sending it across to the fullback, onto Cameron. Cameron's got his winger outside of him. Very well done, West. Here's Richardson. Richardson bombs it back to McCarthy. McCarthy looks around and back it comes in. Fly for the corner of Reardon's nearly over. Reardon's over. A great try.
What a brilliant try. That's the only way to describe it. There was a player there whenever the man with the ball was caught, and that was the secret to it all. It was back up, and here we have it on the replay. West second scrum,
That try that,
Richardson.
you know, that grand final try after half-time in 76, you know, Gary Prickett, there wasn't much on, he gave it to me, and I've chipped over the top and got the magic bounce, and in the tackle I threw it over my shoulder and Ollie caught it, and when he got tackled, he threw it over his shoulder and John Rebo came out of the clouds and scored. And that sort of thing. There was always people there.
Flies the ball back. West keeping it alive. Richardson puts the kick in now. Bit of open space. Richardson sprinting through. Kuhn's there. He's lost it. Richardson has it. Oh, Oliphant got it. Oliphant now to Rebo. Oh, yes. Rebo, the try scorer. What a try on the final tackle.
Had probably about 8 years at the top of football, touring with the Wallabies and with Queensland and Australia, fronting up and playing every week. Sue and I had been married in 74, and I just wanted to move on with my life. I was then sports master at Brisbane Boys College, very busy. Sue and I wanted to have a couple of years by ourselves before we had children, so it was time for me to do something else. And you know, I was 27 years of age, and I told him in a dressing shed I'm retiring, and they couldn't believe me, but it happened. And I'm still in one piece. My teaching career followed. I kept that up and I taught 45, 50 years, enjoying education and helping young people, and did a fair bit of coaching in schools, both rugby and in league. And now sort of retired, enjoying the Gold Coast and our family, and life goes on.
West of 1975 Brisbane Rugby League Grand Final, defeating West with